given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and I'm Jen Cruz, your host. We are showing up as the She-Squatchers, so I've got my trusty teammates on the line. I've got Tammy Dreichel.
Hi, everybody. I'm back. Did you miss me?
I did. I definitely did. How about Jenna? Jenna Grover.
Oh, my goodness. I do believe I'm here as well.
Oh, she's incognito again.
If that's what you want to call it.
Jenna can do just about any accent that you could ever want in the world.
Oh, you are too kind, my dear.
Yes, yes. Well, we've got an exciting show for y'all tonight. We've got Blake from the Lost Cryptids Conservatory on the show with us tonight. Hey, Blake, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you girls doing?
Great. I'm so excited that you're here with us tonight.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Yeah. So just to start out, so our listeners know who we're talking to, can you give us the listeners a little bit of your background as to how you got into researching cryptids and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. As a little kid, I was kind of fascinated with stuff that was on TV on the History Channel. My dad was telling me stories about the Patterson film when he's seen as a little boy in the theaters, and being out in the woods a lot with him and stuff, always piqued my interest. And when I started getting more serious into it, reading books, John Green books and all that, about 13, I had my first encounter. And ever since then, I've just been steamrolling through and used to do a lot of stuff on my own. Never was talking to anyone about it or ever known. And all of a sudden, I decided to create the Lost Cryptids Conservatory and all of a sudden come out of the shadows and, continue to do the research and build a team. And that's kind of where I'm at today, 18 years later.
18 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Seems, yeah. It does and it doesn't. But, Sasquatch, just such a crazy subject and what they do out there and how close they are to people and how diverse habitats they live in all around America. It's amazing. I'm in Michigan, but been to Florida and stuff and other states, and it's just clear that they're pretty much everywhere. It just blows people's minds. It blows my mind when I discover them or find evidence that's close to people and where they shouldn't be.
So you're finding them close to town or even like in town?
Yeah, when I was starting out at 13, my first encounter, it was only, 7 miles out of town, just, not a big town, but even in big cities, they go right on the edges. They actually will, pick garbage and stuff out of restaurants and dumpsters out in the back, out of the light or with enough cover. But yeah, we built our cities and our land around their habitat, so they've kind of always been around. They've just
I agree.
They're adapted to how we are living now, they thrive.
I love the way you're saying that right now because it makes so much sense. We are the invaders almost.
Right. I mean, they've seen their environment over, I'm sure, generations be encroached upon, and I think that they've adapted to how we live. At nighttime, we go to bed at 10 o'clock, we flip the lights off, we're watching TV. We're not outside. We're not guarding our house, gathering firewood. We're not doing any of the things we did just 100 years ago, let alone millennia. So they, I think, really can have adapted to this modern human society to benefit them. And I think that maybe the population shows that, at least from what I've experienced. They're not as rare as people think, because I've kind of found evidence here or had interaction here, there. So there are a lot more around, in my opinion.
So how many times have you actually come across evidence? Would it be?
Well, there's all kinds of evidence, stick structures all the way to footprints, to actual encounter evidence of audio, physical things happening. If I counted all of those, it would be, dozens of stuff, I guess. But the real juicy stuff, I would say, I'd be counting up to 20, I think. Yeah, it's not like stuff happens all the time you go out, but when it does happen, you know it. You realize.
Very cool.
So we did some remote viewing for you guys recently for one of your locations, and I sent you the information that I saw from my little peeksies at it. What did you think?
It was kind of funny. We did have a camp out, and nothing did happen, unfortunately, at that night. But you were pretty spot on about what areas you picked and what previous interactions we've had and what happened in those spots. I mean, you were pretty dead on with the circles and stuff, so it's very impressive. And I mean, what can I say? You're pretty spot on.
Yay!
And you
See,
didn't
we
know.
love feedback. What?
I mean, you obviously didn't know that and stuff, so I mean, it impressed me.
Yeah. Well, it's fun for when we do those for people in places that we've never been, and we're not gonna probably get to see that spot, but in person. But to have the feedback come back that yeah, you did have those things happen in those locations, And I usually find what I usually mark it as a triangle where I think weird things could happen there. So I always say, this is your Bermuda Triangle. And so I mark it as a triangle on the picture. And you said that something had happened there in that spot.
Yeah. Well, a few of the spots you picked, we had stuff being thrown from that spot, the area. We also felt we had some drumming one time. Basically, we were out camping, a huge camp out actually, and this was in the kind of the beginning of Lost Cryptids. It was not many members we had, but all the members we do have were there, and we were having kind of what if, well, I heard this, well, maybes, and then it started storming and stuff, really bad storming. Actually, a tornado passed over, but really bad, and so eventually most people went to their cars and stuff, and I started hearing this drumming sound, five taps, dump, 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 dump. And there's, a few cars right beside me, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it could be them. And I eventually pass out, but I get a text from my buddy, James, who's a team member, and he, about an hour later, he's like, "Do you hear that drumming?" And he's like, it's coming from behind my car, but he's parked in a totally different direction, area, and it would not have been the drumming I heard coming from behind me, and it was in one of the spots you picked. Another spot you picked the next day of that expedition at nighttime. As soon as I'm passing out, and I recorded it, it's actually on the channel. It's I'm about to pass out, and I actually pass out on the recording, and I'm kind of snoozing, and I'm not snoring yet, but you hear this tree or something get pushed over, or something breaks in the woods. It's in the direct spot of where you picked, and I also toss and turn, and I never wake up. But it only did that after I pass out, because you can hear me, the full recording, you can hear me on my phone for 10 minutes, and I pass out. I start sleeping. My breathing does change, and I don't know if that thing could tell or it was just waiting for me to react, but I never woke up.
Or you really do snore and no one's told you.
Right, right. So that was in a spot that you had picked, and so I mean, I kind of gotta give you credit because you hit the nail right on the head.
Good deal. That's always fun to hear good feedback. That's fun.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
just makes me want to do more.
Yes, it certainly does want to. We definitely want to do more with you guys and explore. Possibly verifying more and more because
Yeah.
I mean, if it works, it works. So
There you go. Gotta gotta do it if it works. It might as well give us some little advantage there, right?
yeah, exactly. Any advantage in this field would be beneficial.
There you go. There you go. So you named the group the Lost Cryptids Conservatory. So are you going after more than just Bigfoot? What's the deal?
Yes and no. No, in the sense that some of my team members, when you think about going after lake monsters and stuff like that, it gets it's a whole different realm than like searching for Bigfoot. So it does make people uncomfortable. But the reason why we do look at other things is because I have encountered not just Bigfoot, but other things in Michigan. So I definitely believe there's more cryptids out there, and people should be aware of that. And conservatory in Latin could be a school of learning and stuff too. So spreading awareness of all these creatures that I've experienced, but other people have experienced in the woods of Michigan and North America and beyond is it's kind of what we're about and what we're trying to do. And if we could find evidence of Bigfoot and other creatures, we definitely will be trying and we'll be posting it and showing people.
Have you ever come across anything that anyone else has reported that you've never heard of? Have you ever thought maybe you found something new?
Well, I had the stick man, which I think I talked about in the previous episode we did, but basically I seen a humanoid figure out there who was about 7 foot, super skinny. My dad had in fact seen it, and he would describe it as a gray and stuff. He's into UFOs and stuff. It's like a tall gray, but it was tan colored and
Wearing a suit.
out there in the backyard, basically.
Slender Man.
Kinda. Slender Man wasn't a term or made yet. This was before the rake was created. That creepypasta. So this was way back when. There was no name for this. I could have said it was a Wendigo because I think that would have fit the description, or a basic ghoul or goblin like of Lord of the Rings, Gollum. He's after the ring. It looked like that, but it was standing behind a tree. That's what it looked like. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I called it Stick Man, and it could be a number of things, but it's out there. It's out there, and I think people have experienced it, and I know I have. So I've also seen a dogman. I guess it's what people call a dogman.
Tell us more about that, because yesterday I was listening to Sasquatch Chronicles, and I listened to a Dogman episode where they're having different eyewitness encounters, and some of them were pretty scary. And so tell us your experiences with Dogman. What do you think?
Right. I really don't like that name, Dogman, because it's not really what I seen. I was driving down the road, this road about 5 minutes away from my old house, and it was about sunset. We had the brights on because of deer, a lot of deer in the area, and basically we were going 55 miles an hour down the road. We've been down 1,000 times, and all of a sudden I see this canine face cross the white line. So as soon as its head crosses the white line, I register it to canine. When it gets partially into the first set of lines of the road, I think, oh, it's a coyote. Cool, it's gonna pass. That's interesting. You don't really see him during the day or alone. When it gets to the middle of the road, I realize, holy crap, this is a wolf. It's massive. It's huge, long. I mean, it's a wolf. I'm amazed because this is in lower Michigan, where wolves are generally not seen or found. It would make the news if one was sighted. When it crossed the road and got 20 yards in, it began to stand up on two legs and continue to run. And it ran and ran until we, couldn't see it no more. Well, as we passed. This thing, when you hear dogman, this thing was completely looked like a wolf, natural animal until it stood up. Other than that, and I don't think anyone could have ever have told the difference. It moved very fluidly on two legs. It wasn't like a dog doing tricks or it was full sprint, full ability to run, and it just blew my mind. I couldn't believe what I had seen, and people are seeing these creatures out there, and more creatures out there.
So, what were the arms and the legs like?
I did not see the paws, but when it ran across the road on four legs, everything about it was completely natural wolf. It was big, long, but not abnormally. I mean, I've never seen a wolf besides in the zoo in real life like that, so I can't give a good judgment. But it wasn't out of the norm, I would say. And you could see, just like a regular dog, it had a little mane to it. You could see, and it chose to cross the road in front of us because it was in the bushes standing up. Is what my girlfriend said. And she said it got down. She thought it was a person on the bike because the eyes were reflecting off the light. And it was really grunting. So if you ever see a bear or a dog run where they dig their head as they're running, that's what it was doing. And its eyes were going like this, shining off the light. And it actually looked at us. Said she felt it looked through her, is what she said. So I think she's seen it standing up first, and then it went down, crossed on purpose. I mean, it was pretty beautiful. It was a beautiful wolf. If it was a wolf, but here in Michigan, we have kind of those types, I guess. I don't know. He wasn't all muscle bound. He wasn't a werewolf. He wasn't scary looking, other than a wolf. Very non, werewolf like. And I guess there's a lot of reports of that here in Michigan compared to like down south and other states where they're more crazy looking and just big and muscular and freaks.
Did you ever feel threatened? I mean, you and your girlfriend, or was it just like, oh my gosh, and then it was done? And you only talked about it.
It was kind of like that. It was we weren't threatened at all, but being in the woods, it was close to the house, and being in the woods where, I've been, I rode my bike, all through around there and all that, and it just blew my mind. That thing could be anywhere. That thing could be in the backyards of anyone's house or in any chunk of woods, and there must be more. But obviously, I think that they're not too violent, or say, because I think they would actually have more interactions, and you would hear about it more.
I guess the stories that I've heard about dogmen are usually violent and scary. Maybe not super violent, but I know a lot of people are very frightened by it, and they say their lives have changed extremely. So, but I don't know. I've never experienced dogman, so I'd love hearing your thoughts on it too. So you don't think they're violent at all, or do you think it's area specified?
I'm gonna go back a little bit. So what is dogman? There's a few different things that people have reported that dogman is, from military projects to a werewolf just straight up out of nature, to more of the thing I seen, which is more slender, maybe evolved wolf or something, to spiritual stuff, Native American witchcraft, both good and bad witchcraft or shamanism. So there's a whole list of things that we just obviously don't know. I feel, because I did have a dream that came true after this, that it's probably more Native American stuff, like dog soldiers, and stories like that back in the day, possibly. But I think there's other creatures out there, and there's definitely a lot more we just don't know.
Gotcha. I had heard an account of a dogman where they said that the chest was muscular, but the arms and the legs didn't seem abnormally large at all. They just seemed like normal canine. Did it have a muscular chest?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's wolf build. If that thing's standing up, all of a sudden it stands up. Now it's as tall as me or taller. I mean, a 200-pound wolf, that thing was at least 200 pounds. That's a monster out there. I mean, a 200-pound wolf is big. People don't really realize how big they are compared to any dog. So if you've seen what I've seen up close, that thing would look pretty ripped and muscular, but not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe roided out, where your muscles are just huge and overbound. You can't itch your back. This thing it looked fluid.
Their chest cavities are shaped different than ours, so it would look more like it was muscular there, just because it's more rounded.
Almost more protruded.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely have muscle. I mean, the thing was fast. I mean, it was fast on all fours, and it was fast sprinting like a person. So the things fit and in shape.
I like that you brought up the shaman and the witchcraft part of it, because when you were talking about it, to me, I've had experiences of running as a wolf in meditation. And then you wonder, I know I've had other people that have meditated that said that they saw me with wolves in their meditation. And it just makes me wonder that maybe this is just something that someone projected from their meditation and it just happened to come across you.
Possibly. There's a lot of stuff I think that the ancients knew that we kind of lost, this idea that we lost a lot of knowledge, of these cryptids and of ourselves and technology and all of that I think there's a lot of things that we used to do that we don't do, and now it's like on the fringe of our imagination and our dreams, and it's like, we can touch it, but we just can't fathom it because we've lost all senses of it as a people and stuff. And the natives are very spiritual and always into the spiritual world and two worlds, and always coexisting even though they're separate. So I think there's a lot of things we just can't explain that we hopefully will one day through quantum physics and other science and maybe more spiritual approaches to these things.
Absolutely. There is a question in the chat room. Sherry's asking if you've ever seen any Pukwudgies.
Are those the little people, or those yes, those are little people.
Pukwudgies are a form of little people. There's different kinds, but right. Pukwudgies are
so many names. There's so many names for
yes.
Little people, no. But there are stories, of course, in Michigan and other places of the little people, of the natives, and even stories of little people coming from Europe on ships, gnomes. I've been hearing a lot of gnome stories of even if you start your own little gnome garland, apparently they sometimes appear, and I don't know, very reliable people have seen these things, so I can't not believe them, and I've seen other things, so why not? There's always some truth to these legends and myths.
And isn't it funny how once you see one, your mind is blown because you're wondering what else you're going to see out there. If this one's real, then what else is going to be real that we haven't seen yet? I'm just being like,
I think people can't handle that. That's why people don't go down this dark tunnel and into the light of the crazy world that we're kind of in love with, the cryptid paranormal subject. People can't handle it. It scares people. Encountering Bigfoot or whatever else out there. I mean, Bigfoot's enough, but you start encountering, a wolf that starts walking, and humanoid things out there. I mean, you don't know what to think.
Well, it's hard enough to believe our own reality sometimes. I mean, to think what we could be seeing. That's what excites me, because not only are we out there looking for Bigfoot, but we are running into other things, So I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to go be visiting Tammy very soon. So
Yes,
sorry I
you
had to mention that
are.
before break.
So
So
excited.
It's next week already.
I
yes, it
know.
is. So excited. I don't think we're camping though. I was so excited. I got this new little
Oh
camping
gosh.
gear. Oh my
I'm
gosh.
so happy we're not camping in Virginia. It's way too hot out there.
The humidity right now is like 90%. You do not want to be
Yeah.
camping outside. And there's snakes. Lots of snakes.
No,
Snakes are nasty, but how do you like snakes?
I don't mind them.
Oh,
Well done.
Well done. That was funny, Jen.
In Michigan, we don't really have too many snakes. There's pockets of rattlesnakes in Michigan, but I've been fine with snakes. I used to capture them as a kid, and when I went to Florida for the Bigfoot Odysseys expedition, the 168, there was a lot of snakes around there. We didn't see any, but I seen one black. I think it was just a rat snake, but just constantly looking for snakes all the time. It really took away from trying to look for other stuff. And yeah, I'm kind of glad we live up north where there's no snakes to worry about all the time. You just go tromp through the woods, and for the most part.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, down in Florida and south, it's a lot different environment, and they got Sasquatch there. They got other things there too, but
I've seen a snake on every single one of my walks in the woods, just so you know. None of them have been venomous so far, but I've seen at least one snake each time.
it's different, I guess. You get acclimated to it and stuff, and that's what Sasquatch does. It seems like in all these different environments and terrains and different plant life, trees. I mean, everything's different in Florida, and yet there's Sasquatch down there thriving and doing their thing. A lot of people down there think that they're more, they're not doing so good. They're not thriving too good. That they're actually, starving and stuff like that. Possibly with the water pollution going on. But there are definitely high numbers in Florida. We had activity, and so, but they, it seems weird how a big hairy monkey could, as people think, I think it's more of a tribe, but could survive in all these different climates. And down in Florida, it's too hot. It's hot in Virginia, but yet they're reported everywhere. I think there are people, a tribe of people with understanding of stuff that they can actually do more. And I wouldn't say they have like magic and stuff, but they know more things than we do and use it to their advantage to trick us and to scare us and to make the situation better in their favor.
I know up here in Minnesota, it seems like they inhabit areas where people just usually aren't, like the wetlands and the swamps and the bogs, and people just usually don't go there anyway. So, I mean, it's pretty much their space, and the deep woods and the wetlands. It's very unhospitable, especially with all the mosquitoes.
I wish mosquitoes were never around, because those are like my number one enemy in the woods, the mosquito in the ear.
Mhm.
Michigan's kind of like Minnesota. It has a lot of bogs and stuff and swamps. There's a lot of reports of them. How could anything live in the swamp like that? Sleep in water and stuff. But there's a lot of reports of them going into swamps and never being found, and going into these spots and going into the water, or may possibly going into caves, and a lot of swamps and drainage. It all drains somewhere, and if you study underground water systems and karsts and stuff, there could be caves and stuff down there. And I don't know if you guys have been in the swamps and stuff, but certain spots that you just sink down in. But what if Sasquatch, being as heavy as it is, could jump in these certain spots down, and obviously there's a entrance or something, it jumps through the layer of swamp muck and stuff to another substrate layer that finds a tunnel. Then, holding its enormous lung capacity of air, it can find maybe another air pocket or entrance to the inner Earth. Who knows?
Speaking of inner Earth, I just watched Godzilla, the new Godzilla. So I'm going to leave that at break.
Yes, it's our break time, everybody. So please stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Awesome, guys. All right, I'm going to put myself on mute while we go on break. Watch.
You can't keep talking, Jen, when you put yourself on mute.
Right. Oh, yeah. Good show. You guys have been doing really good.
Thank you.
All the guests and stuff, Oh, yeah.
It's so fun.
It is fun. It's a good way to make friends and learn about good new experiences people have.
For sure.
I didn't hear you.
I was talking to my daughter.
Sorry about that. It was an emergency hot flash, ladies and gentlemen. Had to get an ice pack.
Oh, he just said 30.
Gotcha. I'm back.
I am too. The struggle is real.
I know it's coming.
It's coming.
I said go 20 seconds ago.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and we're the She-Squatchers. Why don't you check us out online at she-squatchers.com. And will you please come over to our events page and see where we're going to be on our upcoming events. It's got a lot of exciting things going on. We're going to be in Virginia later this month at the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Then we're going to be in Duluth at the Para-Unity Convention in Duluth, Minnesota. And then we're going to be at the Michigan Bigfoot Conference. And that's also in July. And then we're going to Gatlinburg, Tennessee to the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in July. So lots of stuff coming up quick for us. So come out and see us where you can. If we're close by, or even if we're not, come over. Come check us out. Come say hi and share stories with us. So tonight we've got Blake with us from the Lost Cryptids Conservatory. And we were just talking about cryptids and other things with him. And we're going to get back to our conversation. Hey, Blake.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Tammy. Hi, Jenna.
Hey, everybody.
I couldn't. Anyways, the conference. Yeah, I want to promote that a little bit. You guys are going everywhere. Holy crap! Congrats to that. That's awesome. You guys are going to ours. We're glad to have you guys, girls, and it's gonna be a fun event. We have a lot of good speakers. I'm sure people have seen it. We've posted everywhere. But Cliff Brackman and Igor and Ken Gerhard and Jason Kenzie and a bunch of other good names and local Michigan speakers. And we actually have a cryptid room, more of a paranormal woo room, because again, people are experiencing this woo side, paranormal side of Bigfoot. and all these other cryptids. So why not discuss it and try to, maybe figure out another piece to the puzzle? It might fit, it might not fit, but you never know until you try. So we're gonna have catering there, a bunch of vendors, obviously, and a bunch of fun stuff. So glad to have you girls.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a great year, and we are very, very excited to go to your conference. So, whoop, whoop,
I
toot,
know, and
toot.
I'm so sad I have to miss it.
I know.
I know.
Well, there's there's always next year and stuff. So hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's uh it's good. It's going to be a great event, and I hopefully learn a lot because there's going to be a lot of good people there to speak with. So, Bigfoot's just a fascinating topic. I think especially if you experience it in the woods, it grabs you. It just grabs people. Those who aren't scared and run away from it. But why do you girls think that is? Why is it so like gravitating towards people?
It's scary to think that these things are real. I think that people are scared. And that's okay. It's okay to be scared, It's okay not to want to believe. You don't have to. No one's making you believe. That's what I think, that, people are living in their boxes. If they feel safe in there, then God bless them and let them live in that box. But I refuse to live in a box. Don't put me in a circle. Don't put me in a triangle. I'd like to be free. Thank you very much. I'd like to know the truth.
I think once somebody experiences something or catches a glimpse of something, it's either going to scare the crap out of them and they run away forever, or it's going to give them an obsession where they want to know more. And it's one or the other. I don't think there's a whole lot of in between.
I really think that for most people, until they experience something, they're not going to believe it. But once you experience it for yourself, I mean, how can you deny it? Convince yourself that you were crazy, hallucinating? I mean, maybe, but it's going to haunt you the rest of your life until you address it. So I just think that more people should get out there and have the experiences for themselves and then make their own conclusions from that.
Right. It's not a small world after all, It is fascinating. Ever since I was a kid, and it kind of blows my mind, with throwing a conference and even just Bigfooting, out with people and stuff. I never thought I would do this, but some always told me that these things are out there. I don't know if it was just, again, that ancient connection we can't really grab, but we can kind of feel. But these things are, I think, a lot closer. Maybe play a more part of our lives. The spiritual world and stuff. Who knows? I know a lot of people would believe that more than Bigfoot, or UFOs. So, a lot of people think that it could be all mixed in together. What if Bigfoot and this and this and this are all together and they're all just, a part of this grand scheme of things, That would be kind of scary. Because a lot of people, say talk about the Nephilim and stuff. I don't know if you girls, I'm sure, have heard of that. And a lot of the native tales talk about giants with 6 digits and double rows of teeth and some of the same similarities, but they're not really described as Bigfoot, another cryptid or so. I do think that there could be these giants. They are reported in remote places of these giants who are not Sasquatch and stuff. So I think that when we discovered the new world, it wasn't really the new world. It was kind of an older world, old world that we lost. So the stories of the giants and the King Solomon's temple, and you study the Mayans and the Incas and the Inca heads. They have all these heads, and they look Asian. They look like African. They look, native. I mean, all these different things. And it makes me really wonder if it's all connected in some way. Is this land of monsters and myth and legends? It seems like it's all connected, and it's on the very fringe of our imagination. So, is it real? Or are we all collectively imagining it? What do you girls think about that?
I know what I saw. Sorry, that's all I have to say.
I definitely believe it's real. I mean, I've gotten footage of him on top of the mountain, so it's definitely real.
All this stuff is connected. You think the woo side, the paranormal side?
I think that everything is very much interconnected with each other on many levels. I really do. I think that I have seen and experienced many, many things that most people don't even dream about. And I myself cannot deny that there is a lot of things out there that even, cryptid explorers don't know about yet. So I think that as time goes by, if people are open to the experiences, that they will start to have more experiences. Once you start paying attention to this stuff, it just expands, and there's more. There's always more. That's why, whenever I'm out in the field, I'm always like, I just want to go over that one hill. What's over there? Just a little bit farther, because I always feel drawn that there's just something just a little bit farther, just out of my reach, and I have to keep looking for it. So that's my view.
That was fantastic. That is real. You have sensations out in there, and you feel like there could be something just right over there, and sometimes there is. I know we've come across some rock piles or mounds. We don't know if they're mounds, but they're in spots next to roads. Sometimes they're on ridges, or they look like they're huge and just half buried in like half a hillside in the middle of the woods.
And if the geography or the geology of it, if it doesn't fit, like how did this form here naturally? If that doesn't fit, then it was built there, right?
Right. I think the mainstream answer, the official science answer, would be the as the ice melted, it carved away and moved all these boulders and stuff like that. 10,000 years ago, and then all the dirt is settled onto it. But we are finding these spots in places that I have found a rock that has led me to another rock that has led me to a mound. And I have discovered this in more than one spot, actually, and it does in fact lead me to bigger mounds. So that's not natural. Everything doesn't shift on a line. Through the woods, you can find something.
Do you want to tell us more about that? Because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's something I'm kind of diving into lately. Actually not lately, but more and more about. Yeah, it's weird, but you find it like a boulder or rock and stuff. It seems out of place, randomly, or it's on a ridge and stuff, and I don't know, something, I have a feeling, and I go a certain direction, and it kind of leads me to another rock, and eventually, most of the time, I find these rock piles, these mounds or something. And the last time we discovered this one, rediscovered it, we had a lot of Bigfoot activity the first time around it and around the area, but this time there was no activity. But one of our team members kind of had deja vu of a dream that he's had of me standing there, our other members standing there, and him looking at this rock pile that he's never been to, he literally, we just took him there, and he says, I had a dream that I've been here before.
Very nice.
Very cool. So what do you think the mounds are? Do you think they're burial mounds or markers or for something, or?
I think that it's burial mounds. It's called the mound builders, or the copper mound builders here in Michigan. It could be native. I know there's stories of natives in the area and other places where when they came to Michigan, they fought another people, or maybe a race of people, or some other people, and they went to war with these things. And they said that they built some of these rock stone gardens and stuff here in Michigan. They're called stone gardens and stuff. We actually have historical ones that are still around, big ones. And they said that the spirits of those dead still haunt those rocks and those places. So I don't know if it's the same same things, if the natives or what's going on, but there are stories of those bigger ones that the Indians have told.
Interesting. Very interesting. And what about effigy mounds? Do you find any of those in your area? The ones that are shaped like a picture from the air?
Well, I've never been in there to find out. And in the woods, it's kind of hard. You'd have to get in the tree, but what we find is mostly several types, I guess. 4 by 6, 7, 4 feet wide, 7 feet wide, long, all the way up to. I mean, this one, it's probably 40 by 40 feet. I know another one that's 30 by 20. Doesn't look massive. It just looks like it's built and in the ground. But this other one looks like a hill. A hillside it's the hillside. So I do know that it's illegal to dig into these spots because if it is Native American, it's a historical landmark or historical site, and you can get in trouble for digging into it or taking anything from it. If you find something, you're supposed to report it. So it would take a lot of work to move some of these rocks and get in and find out what's actually buried underneath that. There are stories of the copper giants or giants found in these mounds, some other states, with huge copper axes, and they're all decorated with copper jewelry, and they're 8 foot tall, 9 feet tall. So I don't know.
Did they say what color hair they had? The copper giants?
It goes back to the Native American of these giants and stuff, and they said that there were black and red-haired giants in the land.
That's what I thought.
There's lots of stories. It could be a whole another episode.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if some of them, some of these, okay, so I know that in Minnesota, some of the settlers were saved by the native people who, when they came out and settled and they weren't prepared for the winter and they started dying because it was way too cold. They weren't prepared. The native people came and took them back to their village and kept them for the winter and showed them how to survive in the extreme cold that we have up here that they weren't prepared for. And one of the things that they showed them how to do was to dig into the hillside and make their home in the hill for the winter to stay warm. And then they would close up the doors with rocks in the summer so that nothing else would move in there and they could just clear out the rocks and move back in the winter again. So when I learned of this, I started looking for these in hillsides to see if I could find any that were still there. And here's me poking, and then jumping, stomping on it. And somebody saw what I was doing. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm looking for old lodges, earthen lodges. And if I find something that looks like it could be a door, I'm poking at it, and then I'll stomp it, and then I'll maybe jump on it." They're like, "You'll fall in if you find something." I'm like, "That's kind of the plan." And
Right. People have reported falling into these things in chambers, actually, of stonework and stuff that more advanced than Native Americans. They're talking about actual fortresses. The natives said that they built fortresses on the hilltops of the Appalachian all the way to the West Coast and stuff. More advanced and stuff. And the Copper Mountain people, the giants or whatever, the copper from Michigan is so pure, it's very distinctive, and it was used in some of the Bronze Age shields and weapons of Greece because they can track and find and discovered it's from Michigan. So there was definitely trade back then from the old world to the new world, or vice versa, and so maybe some of these giants had the technology of that ancient time to build fortresses and chambers and have copper armor and stuff like that, and enslave the natives who were smaller, and that's what some of the stories are. And who knows, maybe had a civilization breakdown and became wild and cannibals, and maybe they grew hair in our Sasquatch. I don't know. I hope not. I think they're different, but I don't know.
Sounds good to me.
I think that they are different than Sasquatch too. Uh, because when I hear the stories about the giants with two double rows of teeth and six digits, we never hear about Bigfoot with six digits and double rows of teeth. We don't hear that. And when people talk about the giants that had the double rows of teeth and the six fingers and six toes, um, we hear that they were cannibals. You know, that they were eating people. Well, that just tells me they look like people. They were just big. You know, where if you see a Bigfoot, you know, yeah, they may have some human aspects to them, but being as furry and as large as they are, you know, they definitely don't exactly look human either.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's depiction of these giants, in Egypt and Mesopotamia, and famous one of, I think he's a king. He's holding a lion like a cat with his arm, and a lion is, huge, and he's holding it like a little cat. So, I mean, you have a lot of stories of the Bible and all these other ancient texts of these giants, whether they're good or bad or heroes, even the Greeks. Some say, Hercules and Achilles and some of these other great men of renown are these giants or these Nephilim or whatever was going on. It's very fascinating stuff because again, it's all happening in the same areas, and people are experiencing some of the stuff. I know people say there's giants still alive, and the military goes after them, and all this. There's a huge giant skeleton in the, I think it's in Ecuador, that museum in one of the countries down there. It's standing. It's huge. It's right there on display. So.
I wish they'd show us those things here.
Right. I know down there they're finding the elongated skulls, with the suture lines that are completely different than a normal human that head binding cannot do. They're finding that with all these megalithic stoneworks that you can't, fit a razor blade or paper through, and they have holes and shafts in rock that even modern day lasers and stuff can't do, how or move some of these stuff. So it's just fascinating. It's a fascinating world we live in, and it's so sad that we just don't know how truly fascinating it really was.
Yeah, it would be amazing to find that out. I always wonder if water has a part of it. Water is such a powerful thing, and it can cut the uncuttable, can't it? If you water pressure.
Yeah, water is a very powerful element and stuff, and the ancients knew a lot more stuff, and I think we're advanced in more ways than we are. Obviously, we're advanced in more ways than they are, but there's an old saying is, they're just as smart as us. They just lived back then. So
That's so true. It is.
Well, who knows how much of their wisdom was lost along the way too. So
a lot.
How many civilizations have rose and fallen over the time of our planet? I think that's a great mystery to find out for sure. So I think that there's a lot more civilizations that rose and fell over many, many, many times.
Oh yeah, ancient stuff, and you have the texts from India that go back hundreds of thousands of years. You got the Sumerian texts that go, 250,000 years with the kings that ruled, and it's very interesting. That's why I can't stay grounded to just Bigfoot. It's like I'm kind of so concentrated on everything else because it's so fascinating and such a mystery.
Absolutely. Well, before I looking at the clock and I'm like, oh, before we run out of time, I wanted to ask you about the lights. Any strange lights activity in your Bigfoot areas?
Some of the areas we've experienced lights, yes. I've experienced and recorded a UFO in an area, but orbs. We went to this one spot and we were coming back after hearing a howl, some rock clacks, and a possible whistle, and we got some of it recorded. But as we're coming back to the trail, we're meeting up with the other people who they're kind of having activity, and I kind of look back and I see behind this dense little thicket with all these small trees, there's this white light that looks white gray, or a light that's in the fog, and it's dark in the woods, it's really thick, but it's not protruding any light beam through the woods. There's no light beam. And as I kind of take another good look at it, it was gone. And I had a good 5 seconds to watch it the first time. So I know it was there because I kept moving and I could see it as the trees were passing. I think that was about maybe volleyball shaped, maybe bigger than a softball. Then proceeded to catch a glimpse of a kind of a Sasquatch upper half run behind a tree. As these other people have an activity. I don't know if it's related. I can't say it's a Bigfoot flying around an orb, but it's in the area of activity. And we did see other members have seen one that we had a Chinese lantern that was lit, and it flew up to the Chinese lantern and looked at it and flew off. So
that's interesting.
That same spot, another buddy of mine got a blue orb on picture, actually. Standing, close right there, and there's nothing there. It's about the same size, I would say, maybe volleyball, maybe baseball shaped size. We don't know what they are.
Are there bodies of water nearby when this happens, or?
Oh yeah, there's water everywhere. It's right in the swamp. I don't think it was swamp gas. I didn't smell anything gassy, of course. And I wasn't in a swamp when I seen mine. But when people seen it up in the air, there was swamp on both sides of us. We don't know. It could be like, water spirits. It could be a bunch of different things, and we just don't know. It definitely seemed sentient. The one that was at the hot air balloon, it was in control of itself. It wasn't just randomness. So I think
what color was that one?
Another white one, white, dull white.
Okay. So. Very cool. Very cool. I'm looking forward to checking that stuff out for you guys a little bit more. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you more GPS coordinates because we got a few different areas of weird stuff, and I try to look into the Native American aspect of it. It's always fascinated me as a kid and being part natives, a little native, I would have to say. But it's always drawn me, and I try to find correlations, or because they were the people who were in the land experiencing this stuff, so they kind of have these firsthand knowledge that they do write about and they talk about. So
exactly,
we'll help guide people and hopefully find the answers. That's what we're all seeking.
Absolutely. Well, we have like less than a minute left. Will you tell everybody how to find you and how to find tickets to go to the Michigan Bigfoot Conference?
The MichiganBigfootConference.com.
Awesome.
And YouTube.
And the Lost Cryptids Conservatory on YouTube. That's awesome. Right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Blake, and we'll see you in a few weeks and at that conference. So come check it out, everybody, and we'll see you there. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Blake.